Good evening and welcome to the main news. My name is Farai Gwaze.
And I'm Joyce Mabika. Noble Maungwa is on sign language. Later on, Arthur Evans will be joining us from our Montrose studios in Bulawayo. We start off with our leading stories tonight. Red Wing Mine survivors grateful for making it alive in the Valley of the Shadow of Death.
In other news, Zimbabwe set sights on growing trade beyond the country's borders.
And in sport, Ashamba-based Simba Bora signed 10 new players ahead of the 2024 Kasolaga Premier Soccer League season.
Let's take a look at our first story in the bulletin. Acting President General retired Dr. Constantino Chiwenga has implored Zimbabweans to uphold the dictates of the Constitution to ensure effective administration of justice. He was addressing stakeholders in the justice system at the 10th anniversary of the Constitution held in Harare on Monday night.
The official opening of the 2024 legal year this Monday saw the judiciary and stakeholders in the justice system being challenged to uphold the Constitution in the administration of justice. Speaking at a dinner hosted by Chief Justice Luke Malaba in Harare this Monday night, Acting President General retired Dr. Constantino Chiwenga noted the need for a collaborative effort in ensuring the dictates of the Constitution are adhered to for the effective administration of justice.
Although the theme is specific to its focus on the role of judiciary, what is inherent in it is the acceptance that there are other entities which with important roles to play in the entrenchment of constitutionalism. The function of these entities is to guarantee alongside the judiciary compliance with the demands of the Constitution. The judiciary, though designated by the Constitution, by the constitutional design as the final port of call in the determination of the rights of people, cannot effectively discharge its mandate as an isolated arm of the state.
Acting President Chiwenga highlighted that government recognizes the autonomy of the judiciary.
I also note that the Chief Justice, in his State of the Judicial Address, alluded to the separation of powers as part of the principles governing constitutionalism. It is prudent that I reiterate his sentiments in that regard. Government is committed to aiding the judiciary by recognizing its autonomy when it comes to the exercise of judicial authority.
For Chief Justice Luke Malaba, a celebration of the Constitution is a celebration of good governance.
When we talk of good governance, we are talking of the presence and participation of the judiciary in that process, not just theoretically and philosophically, but practically, through cooperation with other arms of government to ensure that at the end, the common purpose of providing service to the people of Zimbabwe is achieved. Yes, we may be independent, we must be independent of each other in compliance with the principle of separation of powers. But that does not allow us to act in silos, to pretend that we are different when we are supposed to act together.
Meanwhile, long-serving members of the Judicial Service Commission were honored for their dedication to duty. Fungai Jachi, ZBC News, Harare.
The rescue mission at Red Wing Mine in Penalonga turned out to be an extraordinary story of determination in the Valley of the Shadow of Death. Our Manicaland Bureau Chief, Kenias Chivuje, has more.
According to Indian lawyer Mahatma Gandhi, a true hero is not defined by their strength, but by their ability to inspire and lead others. This is the story of Goodson Madimutsa and the 3 others who helped the fellow trapped miners to keep the faith and survive under very difficult conditions. Madimutsa, who was the first man out after being trapped for 4 days, recounted the horror, despair and the uncertainty they faced underground.
Zvakatengera nechokumsiyo kwataibuda nako ndokwakatanga kudonha kuchiuya kwangu nerusha rwakakurumbira zvokuti paiti pakadonha paibaka moto waibvira zvokuti vanga zatsata tongoti zvinoitika panoputikana kuti magrenade kana kuti panoitika hondo dzatomboona kune dzimwe nyika dziya tichiona ndo zvaitika ipapo kudonha kwaita matombo kuya pachidonha paipai pakaita imwe mhepo yanga ine mukurumbira mhepo iyi handira kuinzwisisa ndiri pano pasurface patentiri panapa handisana mbosangana nemhepo yakadaro mbozi yanga iri strong zvokuti chereka tokurowa ungori pamhini waitonodonha ndo mhepo yakauya ine mvura pamwe chete mvura yakasvika yakasvitika mudarika muchiuno muno asi zvakangoita about 5 minutes mvura yakabva yangodisappear yakabva yangopera mvura yayo ndobva tachizobva taenda kunobata nevamwe wedu.
It was an unprecedented story of the struggle for survival under extremely dangerous conditions.
Taita kuti tokwira gomo ranga richitsvedza zvokuti ukatsvedza ipapo futi ukanowira futi kumawere waitofa. Takazosvika pamba tingati kirekere kana kuti ivhu rakabva kunze rairatidza kuti ivhu repanze dzvuku rakanopinda pasi pemugodhi neimwe miti yakapinda pasi pemugodhi ndiyo yakatizivisa kuti uku tokwanisa kubuda kuti tinge chichera. Takambotrai kuda kuchera nepanga pabuda nevhiroro saka paibva pazouya paiuya pakawanda zvokuti pakatombofusira vamwe wedu aiti tapaitataura kufukura ivhu riya rikangoita ramudenga stereki raibva rauya rakawanda rosvika richikukura nevanhu vese wainodonha umwe akambenge atofusirwa takatozomufukunura asati bcause dai tikamunonokera aitofa futi.
Mhepo yakauya tikangoti apane pane mapila pakasimba tikati varume vaitu vete tiri panapa sapanguva yata takavanda tiri paya mhepo yakauya zvine simba yakatipushira kumadziro ikatitorera matochi ikativharira kumashure kwatatabva.
Foni takapera moto manhero kuma 7 manhero antika saka takatanga kukalkuleta neweather chando kuti kuma 7 8 9 kana kwakutonha toziva kuti kwadoka totanga kushanda usiku pakati kuma 12 1 nguva yacho yakune kusatonhora kuti kazonzwa futi chando chakupinda mumaini kunzwa izvozvi chando chachawedzera kwakutonha kuti chando chache makusenda kuma 4 5 kunze kwaedza tototi day radarika ndo makalkuletera taita madays.
The darkest hour came before dawn as the miners were rescued just when most of them were losing hope.
Vamwe vedu vanga vasina simba rekubuda ndipo patakabatsirwawo nevanhu vakatibatsira vakatipawo maropes ekuti tibate nzeve vamwe vedu vari pasi kuti vaone kubuda ndovatenda vanhu vavo bhozi vava vasisina kana simba rekuti vakwire masteps aya atakambochera kuti tindiana kupi kumusoro.
While the ending provides a somewhat feel-good story, it was, however, nothing short of a miracle for the survivors to dig 60 meters up the shaft in less than 4 days.
Chinjaira uli pasimba ndikuti ndafunga kuti ndine vana vangu amai wakashayika ndine vana 4 amai wakashayika ndaifunga kuti voitanhirira kuiseri ndikati inini nezita raJesu ndobuda panze chete. Zvairwadza pakuti 1 mudumbu mamusina chanchirimo tanga tine nzara midzi yemiti yevhu riya rakabva panze ndiyo yaimbotibatsira apo neapo asi yanga isingawaniki yaitonitsa yaita sekunge ritori goridhe racho kunetsa kwacho kwaraita kuwanika kwaro bcause yanga midzi yaitowanika apo neapo midzi yasikati tukawana todamburika na mudzi yayo totanga tautesa kuti unoita here kudya kana kuti hauiti.
The mine shaft collapsed on Thursday last week with the successful rescue mission of the 15 trapped miners being carried out on Sunday. Kenya's Chivuje, ZBC News, Mutasa.
Government is mobilizing funds to facilitate DNA tests for the victims of the 2020 Escotini mine disaster after an illegal miner exhumed remains of 6 miners in December last year.
Government has consoled families of the Escotini mine disaster that claimed 6 lives after an illegal miner exhumed the remains of the deceased. The remains, which are at the Escotini District Hospital mortuary, will be sent for DNA tests at the National University of Science and Technology, with government mobilizing funds for the process.
Siyaxolisa siyaphinda futhi ukuthi siyaxolisa baba. Siyabazi ubuhlungu obuzwayo. Silawe ebuhlungwini bonobu. sesisithi njengoba sokuvele sokunje sesicela sibilikini ukuthi likhulule inhliziyo ukuze abantu labo bayiphumula siyenza i-DNA test lezana baba sibekwazi siba-identifye siyebafihla ngicela sibili ukuthi sibambaneni kathesi baba nkulu.
The 10th of November 2020 remains the darkest day for the Dube, Nkomo and Ncube families after a flooding river covered the shaft their loved ones were working on, rendering it too dangerous for any rescue operation.
Umama owezumhelo wazithulela abantwana bomunye umfazi bephansi wasithulela zwi umama lwana. Ngemva kwalapho umama lwana kakaze even one day ekhohlwe ukuthi akahleke ngiyefika kulwana muzi ke ngiyehlanganisa amehlo ke ngiyekhuluma lalabana abantu uthi abantwana abathathu ama twins ngamankazana bodwa kuzokuba lokumfana owamchiya ele 1 week mama ebelethiwe
kusisubuhlungu ukuthi umama yena lwana onguye uqobo lwakhe owethi yenza isihluko esinjalo engathi kazange asi-informe njengezitho ukuthi khona abantwana sebewele
kubuhlungu ngoba abafana bathi bewele mama umama lo enda uthi alame the authorities ukuthi sokule ngozi yena wagijima wakhupha imtshina yakhe wadiliza amatende ayehlala abantwana.
When the mine accident occurred in 2020, the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee on Mines and Mining Development visited the site and recommended that it was too risky for rescue operations. The chief government mining engineer also recommended the mine accident site to be the final resting place for the victims before their families were granted permission to perform rituals at the site. There were also recommendations for the purported owner of the mine, Ms. Sakile Ndlovu, to be prosecuted after endangering the lives of the deceased. According to available information, the victims include Nkosilati Ndlovu, aged 29, Nduzo Ntini, 29, Ndumiso Dube, 21, Mandlenkosi Mlilo, 16, Blessed Ncube, aged 24, and Christopher Due, 26. Providence Maranelli, ZBC News, Esigodini.
In a related development, Theophilus Chuma reports that government has activated thorough investigations into the Red Wing mine disaster, with a raft of measures being put in place to curb similar incidences.
A string of mine disasters are recorded in the country over the years, among them the Barrowfields mine disaster of 2019 and the recent collapse of a mine shaft at Red Wing Mine in Penalonga, which left 15 miners trapped underground, have exposed serious safety gaps within the mining sector. The mining accidents have claimed lives, while some have been lucky to survive, but not without scars. Government has since taken a tough stance, starting with a thorough probe into the Red Wing mine disaster.
We are going to conduct a thorough investigation into the accidents. And we are not only going to focus on Red Wing only, but all areas where we've witnessed accidents is so disturbing. So the investigation is going to be very thorough. After the investigation, the minister is going to sit down and deliberate on the measures which, amongst them, we include proper mine closure plans and also registration of mining sites, and also including increasing ministry visibility on the ground.
Strict adherence to proper artisanal mining standards will also be enforced.
If you have a mine closure plan, what the ministry will now do is to make sure that the closure plan is implemented. Failure to implement that plan, we now need law enforcement agents to come into play.
Experts say the Red Wing mine disaster has provided critical insights for authorities to craft measures and policies that will enhance monitoring of both large and small-scale players in the mining sector. Theophilus Chuma, ZBC News, Harare.
The 2024 academic year kicked off this Tuesday with several new schools opening their doors to learners for the first time. It was also a new chapter for some primary and secondary school students who are embarking on a new journey. We get more from our reporters.
It was the beginning of a long journey for new learners at various schools in Harare this Tuesday, while for others it was time to fasten their seat belts for the examination year.
plus muupenyu hwake tichimupa zvese zvaanenge achida kuchikoro zvinenge zvichidiwa kuchikoro.
Kutarisirwawo kuti ave achiita zvakanaka kuchikoro sekuvawarira kwandikuitawo. Unonzwa kufara kuti tiristi mwana ari kuratidza kukura.
School authorities have put in place measures to ensure learners achieve their goals while tightening screws on hygiene and cleanliness in the wake of a cholera outbreak.
We really had a great start for the term. All the learners and parents were very excited for a new year, and in terms of preparedness, we had set all the washing machines in place and also sanitizing all our learners as they were coming through for their lessons.
Primary and Secondary Education Minister Honorable Torirai Moyo was on the ground to assess the situation. He also took the opportunity to clarify government's position on the payment of school fees, adding that schools are prohibited from turning away learners over non-payment of fees.
As a ministry, we are saying, don't turn away learners for non-payment of tuition and levies. If you turn away a learner, you are violating their constitutional right, their fundamental right to basic education is enshrined in our constitution, is espoused by our constitution. You are violating their rights. Now, we are not saying parents must not pay school fees and levies. No. It is the duty of a parent and a guardian to pay fees and levies for their children. And as minister, I'm calling upon parents to pay fees and levies for their children on time.
It was a new chapter for the Sanangwe community in Masvingo resettlement area after the opening of St. Makebo II Primary School, established by Joan Marange Apostolic Church in partnership with government. The school comes at a time when pupils were walking long distances to the nearest learning facility.
Chikoro chauya mudhuze munzvimbo yedu chiri chakabatana secondary neprimary. Ende vana vedu vanoratidza kuti vari kufarira chikoro ichochi.
Netarisiro kuti chaimprove quality education yedu kuti vana vapasewo vekumapurazi kuno zvikoro.
Ndiri kufara ndauya paSt. Makebo ndiri kutarisira kudzidza.
It was also the dawn of a new era at Good Hope Adventist Infant School in Mafuva area, where another new school was opened this Tuesday.
Takutenda zvikuru tsigiro ratakawana from the government kubva tichitangisa pano hurumende yanga inesu. Pane rukova kungaguripo pakati penharaunda yekuno nechikoro chiri padhuze chinova cheMafuva. Saka kuvapo kwechikoro ichi kwakaita kuti vana njodzi dzokuvambuka kwerukova dziite shoma.
3 new schools opened their doors to learners in Masvingo this Tuesday, a clear indication that government is walking the talk in closing the school's infrastructure gap.
In Chimanimani, the beginning of the academic year brought joy to the resettled Cyclone Idai survivors after Runyararo Primary School opened its door to the first group of students. The opening of the new school comes as a huge relief to the resettled community where learners were traveling long distances to the nearest school.
Vana vabatsirika maningi nekuti vamwe vaifamba kuenda kwachaya miti kure kure uko. Vamwe vaitobva kwaNabumba. Ende zvaitawo kuti zvatirerutsirawo isusu vanhu vemuidai muno.
Ndanga ndine mwana anga achida kupinda ECDA. Saka ndanga ndichitonzwa mwoyo wangu kurwadziwa kuti mwana wangu anofamba here kuenda kuchikoro koita ECDA ari kwachaya miti. Asi zvatiitira zvakanaka kuti chikoro chavhurwa, chakwaniswa kuvhurwa pano.
The excitement is not limited to students as school authorities and parents were also in a celebratory mood.
Tavhure zvakanaka pano pachikoro. Vabereki vari pano pachikoro vari kutobatsira kutokline chikoro chacho sezvo paya pasina activity yanga iri kuitwa mazuva apfuura ese.
Vamwe vana vangu vachirwadziwa kufamba kubva kuno kuda kuchikoro chimwe waienda last year kwachaya miti pane mufambo wakati rebei ndo chekutanga chainyanya kubatsirika nharaunda ineyi plus tori development yatoitikawo kutoti munharaunda mwedu mwane chikoro.
Government has so far established a modern health facility and a school in addition to improving the water reticulation system for the resettled Cyclone Idai survivors at Runyararo Farm in Chimanimani.
Garanyemba Secondary School in Gwanda area of Matabeleland South was a hive of activity as schools opened for the first time this Tuesday. It is, however, a day of contrasting fortunes, with some excited about the new chapter as secondary school learners, while others are still recovering from the holiday hangover. While Mona Lisa and her friend Sugulenkos are still involved in the juicy holiday stories behind the water tank across the block, a newly constituted Form 4 class is in the venue of a serious business. The calling of the class register and reading of the Riot Act from the class teacher, Miss Mlilo, signaled the beginning of a critical year for the Form 4 class.
Make sure you use the timetable that we're using last term. Our monitors will go and call the teachers, remind them to come for lessons.
For this class, the year is important as it will shape their future.
I think item lay in Form 4. So vele yitheme ukuthi isikwanisa ukuthi sistudy kahle kwenzela ukuthi sipase kuma exam ethu ka Form 4.
Basesafunda sifunde size maybe singaphasa.
Ngithayelele ukupasa ngibale lami iphume nama subject aqhakathekileyo esikolweni.
Ngizabe mbala amabhuku ami ngenza into zami zonke zesikolo so that I achieve my goals. Kwenza ncedisa abazali bami ukuthi ntshintshe situation yakudala kubele situation entsha.
All schools in Matabeleland South opened with the Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education officials monitoring the situation.
In Chiredzi, most rural schools in the district began the new term without a glitch, with some schools dedicating opening day to ensuring the learning environment is clean. For the parents in rural communities of Chiredzi who earn a living through subsistence farming, the rallying call has been for schools to accept school fees payment plans in light of the predicted lean rainfall season.
Shuviro dzangu ndedzekuti tichitangawo gore kudai kana ngavadzidziwo zvakanakawo isuwo vaberekiwo ngatitsvakewo mari nesimbawo chero zvazvakaoma hazvo gore rino pakaoma gore rino kune nzara kana iri Masvingo province yedu haina kutombonaya gore rino saka zvakatoomera saka taishuviro kutoto dai zvikoro zvaitawo mapayments plan ekuti vanawo vawanewo madzidziro nemabhadharirwo avangaitwawo mari.
Ndine kuhlupekawo edlelweni leku vana vechikolo ekuni kunita vabhadhalela yini nyamwaka kune ndlala saka leswi ku ngene ndlala ekuni kuma mali nisa chikafu yini ekuni yakuni kuma kuni bhadhalela vana leno vahlongoliwa chikolweni mali yakona ayikulisile nivumala kunita kuyini khoma la anela loko ukurima masin'wini.
Chiredzi District Schools Inspector Mrs. Petronella Nyangwe is upbeat of a smooth learning process.
Generally, our schools are ready for learning. We've been talking to our heads. You know, for Form 1s, other schools still have not yet enrolled enough, so we're redirecting those schools. You know what parents do, they favor a few other schools more than the others, so we'll be checking to advise parents to go to those schools that still have low enrollment.
Examination classes hit the ground running on the first day of school in preparation for exams at the end of the year. The learners are convinced that the best way to succeed is a good start.
I am so nervous, but I really want to give my all and to just give my best.
I'm super scared. That's the honest truth. I'm scared of ZIMSEC and preparing. I cannot say I've started, but since the year has started and the term has started, that declares that I also have to start.
I have started the term on the right foot, and hopefully I will end it on the right foot. As I am in the final year, I have set a vision for myself.
As we start the year, I cannot say we are only starting to read, because reading shouldn't stop for an A-level student. So we have already read this whole holiday, so I'm expecting that I'm coming out with flying colors.
The students are also aware of the dangers of drug and substance abuse.
The same people who indulge in drugs are the perpetrators of these violent behaviors that are even affecting school students. Some of the school students are affected because Some of them, they don't even want to come and learn. And some, they feel uncomfortable even sharing.
The first term school calendar will run until the 27th of March.
Well, we wish our learners a successful and a fruitful 2024 learning year. And that taking us to other news where the business community has welcomed government's decision to review some of the measures announced in the 2024 national budget as a sign of commitment to stability, consumer protection and industrial growth.
A statement by Treasury this Monday shows that basic commodities such as bread, milk, cooking oil, and maize meal are now exempted from the value-added tax (VAT), thereby removing fears of price hikes. It also reviews meat, bath soap, rice, laundry soap, toothpaste, and petroleum jelly have been moved to standard rating. Retailers are now able to buy directly from manufacturers, while cooking oil value chains such as cotton seeds and soybeans have also been included in the VAT exemption. A special sugar tax content for specified beverages has also been adjusted downwards, much to the delight of the business community.
It was very important and necessary to refine these measures, particularly focusing on the following. Number one, to preservation of value chain. It was very important. And then number two, to realign the capacity of the industry. Then number three, I think we are talking of creating balance between retail and wholesale. Then also preservation of food security. It was very necessary.
It shows that the spirit of talking is the only solution to any difficulties. So obviously there were some oversight here and there, but obviously as a business we observed some of those omissions and we pointed them out, and the government listened, the authorities listened, and they've accommodated the concerns that we raised.
We continue engaging government, both the Ministry of Industry as well as Treasury, on a number of areas, of which the fine-tuning which just took place, it's also a confirmation of that cordial relationship which tends to subsist between the private sector and government. But obviously we still have a number of issues we think can be solved, especially on the taxation front.
Treasury says that the measures were taken into consideration after engaging industry representative bodies. Stanley James, ZBC News, Harare.
The government says the country is sitting on over 240 metric tons of maize, which translates to more than 7 months' cover.
It was a busy day for the officials from the Ministry of Lands, Agriculture, Fisheries, Water and Road Development as they toured the National Foods Processing Plant in Aspinde, Harare to assess the availability of grain products amid a speculation of a reduced supply of the product on the formal market. After the tour, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Lands, Agriculture, Fisheries, Water and Road Development, Professor Obed Jiri, revealed that more than 240 metric tons of maize are in the country's depots.
GMB currently sits on 247 metric tons of grains. So from where we stand, we know that with GMB alone for the social protection programs, we are sitting on 7-8 months cover of grains.
Private millers pledged to work closely with the government.
We really take our responsibility very seriously in terms of supplying basic fruit products, and we will always plan ahead. If needs be, we'll import product to ensure there's adequate supply. Deputy Minister of Lands, Agriculture, Fisheries, Water and Road Development, Honorable Vangelis Aritatos, reiterated that the government will ensure the nation is food self-sufficient.
As a nation, we have adequate stocks of maize. As you know, since the liberalization of the market, GMB's prerogative now has moved away from commercial activities to specifically providing for social welfare. So we have an ongoing program that's complemented by the private sector, and we are now touring the plants because last week there was a bit of an outcry. Unfortunately, that outcry was caused by many delays that came from Christmas and other things. We know the challenges, but right now as we see it, all the millers in Zimbabwe at 100% capacity, churning out as much mealie meal as possible.
The government is also working together with several players in the grain supply chain to bring normalcy in the sector. Peter Chivima, ZBC News, Harare.
Candidates vying for the Mkoba North constituency seat are confident of victory in the by-elections set for the 3rd of February.
The candidates are on the ground canvassing for support to take over the seat left vacant after the recall of Citizens Coalition for Change legislator Amos Chibaya from the National Assembly. ZANU-PF candidate from Mkoba North, Mr. Edgar Ncube, is promising servant leadership.
Mkoba vatambura makore awanda vakomana veopposition vagara mupower for a long time. Tikona zvinhu zvichikanganisika, maroads, masuwa, tikona maclinics, zvikoro zviri kuupgrade. Saka isusu seZANU-PF tikapinda tichakorekta mamistake avo ose.
Democratic Official Party candidate Patrick Taiya pledged to prioritize the vulnerable in society.
Chatiri kunyanya kuda kudhila nacho at the moment are the youth and the vulnerable. We've noticed kuti my youth edu and they are spending more time in the streets, vachive involved in drug and substance abuse, vachiita betting static. So we've got a couple of projects that we want to work with them. We are looking at maybe developing a vocational training center in Mkoba, where we will keep the youths with certain skills so that they can be self-employers rather than waiting to get an opportunity to be employed.
Efforts to get a comment from Citizens Coalition for Change candidate Amos Chibaya were fruitless as his mobile phone went unanswered. Tafara Chikomera, ZBC News, Gweru.
Let's take a look at stories you can expect later on in the bulletin. Zimbabwe sets sights on growing trade beyond the country's borders.
And in sport, Shamba-based Simba Bora signed 10 new players ahead of the 2024 Kasolaga Premier Soccer League season. We'll be back with these and more stories in detail after this break. Stay with us.
This is one of those big guys who will definitely live with something. Something! Yeah! Okay.
When you're thirsty for more, this is the right choice, Zimbabwe.
The new Fruticana smoothie in 4 exciting flavors. Fruticana smoothie, color your mood.
Feeling a little disconnected from the rest of the world? Reconnect with the hottest entertainment source on the continent. Dust off your DSTV decoder and get connected to non-stop sport. Kids channels for all ages, a local scene like no other, and international movies and series that'll blow you away. Don't get left behind. Download the My DSTV app to pick the package that's right for your family and your pocket. And reconnect today. DSTV, it's your moment.
from the school that has been top in the country in Cambridge GCE and ZIMSEC examinations. Powered by teachers who have dedicatedly produced results for the country, mostly in the sciences domain. Led by Mrs. Edith Mukuwapasi, who has over 30 years experience and excellence in the teaching field. Online lessons for 2024 O and A-level revision classes in chemistry, maths, physics and biology are now underway from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. Monday to Friday. This includes monthly practical lessons. Non-candidate packages are also available. Gnostics Group of Schools, making STEM subjects accessible so that the many sidelined children can fulfill their dreams.
Welcome back. The country's trade and export promotion body Zimtrade is targeting to infiltrate new markets in the Gulf region at a time when Zimbabwe has set its sights on growing trade beyond the country's borders. Our diplomatic correspondent Josephine Mugio has more.
As the country works on growing local industries, the export market also remains key in boosting Zimbabwe's economy. Government Trade Promotion Board Zimtrade remains key in increasing the country's exports by capacitating exporters and sourcing new markets for a variety of goods produced locally. This comes after the packaging and furniture producing sectors performed well last year.
If you look at our targets, they're enshrined in the National Export Strategy, and we're targeted to grow exports 10% annually on a cumulative basis. So if you look at our overall exports, including the mining, etc., we stood at around 13%. This is as of October. This is the statistics that we have. But if you look at where we play, that is the evaluated goods and services, our exports grew by 20%. So it means that we achieved our target, and we hope that when we get the statistics to December, we'll have done well in terms of maintaining the upward growth of more than 10% in terms of growth in validated goods and services.
Zimtrade is now working on exploring new markets in Saudi Arabia and Egypt. This comes after President Emmerson Mnangagwa met prospective investors in the two countries late last year. Focus will be on agricultural produce with a business forum lined up in the Gulf this year.
I think quite recently, if you recall, His Excellency went to Saudi Arabia for the summit, and from there a lot of opportunities were identified. And this year we are going to do a market scan and also do a business forum with Saudi Arabia, because it's one of the biggest economies in the Gulf region. So we expect a lot to come from that. We have also planned to do business forums with China and even Russia. You know, with the Ukraine war that is there, I think, although there are challenges, but to us we have discovered that there are a lot of opportunities, especially in the horticulture sector, and even exporting our leather products to Russia. So we are planning to have a business forum this year with Russia, with China, and also as a follow-up to a visit made by His Excellency to Egypt. We're also going to have a business forum where we are going to bring buyers so that they also see what Zimbabwe has to offer.
Zimbabwe's engagement and re-engagement drive has seen the country fostering trade relations with the globe. Chairperson of the Zimbabwe Anti-Sanctions Movement, Mr. Rutendo Matinyarare, believes Zimbabwe has made major strides in its economic diplomacy through the Second Republic's engagement and re-engagement drive.
When I look at, for instance, the relationship that Zimbabwe has with Europe and the United Kingdom, we see the new ambassador who's here. He's really striving to make sure that the relations between the United Kingdom and Zimbabwe are going to be better than before. He's talking about stopping the megaphone diplomacy. That is a total change in foreign policy of the Americans, of the British, and the Europeans are doing the same. They've removed most of their sanctions. We have to get them to remove the sanctions on the Zimbabwe defense industries. That is an illustration that they are beginning to look at Zimbabwe as a country they can't destroy by sanctions, but they have to become friends with us, because every time they isolate us, they are isolating themselves from the resources in this country, from the market in this country, from the human resources of this country, and from the opportunities that have risen in this country. Zimbabwe was supposed to die under sanctions. It didn't die.
Meanwhile, the Zimtrade CEO, who is the Commissioner General for the world's largest trade showcase, Osaka 2025, says preparations for the country's participation at the showcase are on course. Josephine Mugio, ZBC News, Harare.
We'll now cross over to our Montrose studio. We're joined by Arthur Evans. Good evening, Arthur, and over to you.
Well, thank you so much, Farai. Our first port of call is all about voter mobilization. The ruling ZANU-PF party has stepped up its voter mobilization drive in Goromonzi South constituency as of the by-election set for next month.
2 parliamentary seats are up for grabs in Seke and Goromonzi South constituencies come the 3rd of February. Launching the Goromonzi South by-election campaign, the ruling party leadership, led by provincial chairperson Comrade Daniel Garwe, implored the people of Goromonzi to unite for a resounding victory.
Hakuna by-election inetika Masharani East ikawinwa ne opposition nada Comrade Shandama muchishanda nevamwe muchifamba nevamwe maikukwidza nawo vakaibvisa zveurayiridzi vanoti ma-interhouse nezvemumusha zvakapfuura tatarisana nemhandu chaiyo mhandu yakaunza masanctions mhandu iri kuti ZANU-PF ikaramba ichitonga isi hatizodyi
madzimai ndati ngatichisungira imbereko tibereke zhanda tinomusunungura musi wa4 mari dzawo dzabuda chairman vakuenda nazhanda kuna president.
ZANU-PF candidate for Goromonzi South, Comrade Washington Janda, is confident of victory.
Goromonzi South yagara iri ku-opposition for a long time. Vanhu muGoromonzi South vasuffer for a long time in the hands of opposition. Saka this time around ndichangopinda muofisi tichakugadzira ugari wemuCaledonia Goromonzi South yese as whole. I can assure you that this time around the support yatinayo tiri kuitora Goromonzi South iri kuya kuZANU-PF.
Comrade Janda will battle it out with Ruben Chikudo and former legislator Stephen Chagwiza of the Citizens Coalition for Change, CCC. The seat fell vacant after Mr. Chagwiza was recalled by CCC Interim Secretary General Mr. Sengezo Chabangu.
Well, teamwork makes the dream work, and that's why government is encouraging farmers on productive farms to enter into strategic partnerships to boost agricultural turnaround efforts as the nation surges towards the attainment of Vision 2030.
The vast tracts of land had become barren with no hope of life, yet it is the productive land that was the lifeblood for Matabeleland South Province. The coming in of the Second Republic has, however, transformed the fortunes of this area through strategic partnerships. With the country battling the El Nino-induced drought this season, 120 hectares of high-quality maize at this Shangani farm in Matabeleland South Province is expected to go a long way in ensuring food security.
Yesterday, we had the problems of resources, and most of our comrades we are depending on a pension fund. I'm very happy, as you have seen, the magnitude of what I have done in that first farm, and what we have done now for this quarter season. We are utilizing 180 hectares. Then before the end of this year, I'll be having a total of 300 hectares.
Government is climate-proofing agriculture through the Fumvuza Intwasa program and at commercial level by rapid rehabilitation of irrigation schemes and joint ventures.
The government has formed a joint venture unit within the ministry to ensure that those that hold the land but have no capacity financially to bring that land into production and productivity enter into ministry and government sanctioned joint ventures. This is the only way to protect the permit holder while also protecting the investor. They must ensure that the joint venture is approved by government. At a commercial level and at a national level, we climate-proof agriculture through rapid rehabilitation and expansion of irrigation. And clearly here, what we are seeing is one such example.
More than 10 irrigation schemes have been revitalized to climate-proof agriculture production in Matabeleland South Province. Providence Maranelli, ZBC News in Caesar District.
The radio airwaves are abuzz in Hwange, and that's because Hwange community radio station Lieja FM has become a shining example of government's inclusive development after giving a voice to the local community.
The Hwange community is enjoying the fruits of government's thrust of leaving no one and no place behind, with Lieja FM becoming an important tool of communication. There is boundless joy among locals who have stories to tell on how the community radio station has impacted lives through a wide range of developmental issues using local languages.
Tikumuwana information ku Lieja FM savanhu vechinambia isiyo kuno ndavona ti vanhu vanyamurwa vanyamurwa naso tivoneke samanambia
takatava kukasa yakesha muno muchigaba cha Hwange nokuti isusa vakwimbi zviriveshupa kuti nyimbo dzedu dzizivikanwe even mucommunity kana munyika yeZimbabwe yose.
Lieja FM yakavuza rushanto mushango ryose yokwaHwange kubvira makore apinda ose.
Massive support has also come from the corporate sector.
This particular radio station, it has been vital in our community, seeing to it that Hwange Power Station, the majority of the population in here is Zimbabwe Power Company staff, and they have been benefiting from all developmental programs which have been aired by Lieja FM in Hwange Power Station. And also we are going to have a cross-pollination with Lieja such that they get to disseminate information to do with vandalism.
Government has licensed at least 14 community radio stations across the country, with emphasis on locals controlling their own narrative in the national development agenda. The community radio stations are also helping preserve culture through the use of local languages. Mhlomuli Ncube, ZBC News, Hwange.
We end our Montrose crossover by triangulating our signal. We take you back to Pocket Hill for more news.
Thank you so much there, Arthur. The Civil Protection Department says the leadership crisis at the city of Harare has contributed to waste management and cholera disasters, which has prompted a multi-stakeholder approach to rescue the situation.
Days turned into weeks, months and years, where refuse collection, sewer repairs and safe water provision became a tall order for the city fathers, while uncollected garbage curved into a daily nightmare. These were the early warning signs of a tragedy to come, a catastrophe of medieval nature in the form of a cholera outbreak. The origins traced to the leadership vacuum at Town House due to opposition intra-party disputes. The internal political chaos in the opposition CCC has since birthed 4 mayoral elections in the past year, while several executive positions are yet to be filled substantively. In the absence of a solid plan to deal with waste management and cholera, the Civil Protection Department has since intervened as per provisions of the law.
The definition of a disaster in the Civil Protection Act is very simple. It speaks to disruption of essential services. It talks about pollution, environmental pollution. That's why I always refer to the Cabinet Committee on Environment, Disaster Prevention and Management. If you don't manage your environment, the consequences are there. That's why it's not by accident that we are usurping the role of the local authority, but we have seen that non-collection of waste is now being compounded by the emergence of the cholera outbreak. So it's like we are now managing a disaster within a disaster. And all the two contemporary challenges are affecting the well-being of our communities in Harare. That's why we are here as per the provisions of that act.
Civil Protection Department Chief Director, Mr. Nathan Komo, clarified government's role in restoring normalcy.
We have already mobilized quite a lot of expertise in the area of waste collection. Yes, we are working with our local authority, but we have also received quite a lot of tremendous assistance from our private sector partners.
The city of Harare is the confluence of economic activity in Zimbabwe, holding the highest gross domestic product of 22.8% among the provinces, according to Zimstat 2023 figures. Maladministration, corruption, and inept leadership has, however, been at the center of the city, resulting in suspensions and arrests of some senior officials. Wellington Makonese, ZBC News, Harare.
Zimbabwe's Open for Business mantra continues to yield desired results as the country cements diplomatic relations with friendly economies.
Iranian and Zambian ambassadors to Zimbabwe this Tuesday paid a courtesy call on the acting permanent secretary for Foreign Affairs and International Trade, Mrs. Rofina Chikava. Iranian ambassador to Zimbabwe, His Excellency Abbas Navazani, expressed willingness to ensure the two countries follow up on the signed agreements.
Fortunately, we had a very fruitful progress about these MOUs in the recent months. And now we are following the issues for next JPC, which we should have in Zimbabwe. And I hope we find different fields and areas for economic and business opportunities in two countries.
Zambian ambassador to Zimbabwe, His Excellency Derek Levune, noted the need to deepen ties between Zimbabwe and his country through reviewing progress on various areas of cooperation.
The meeting was basically to check on each other and ensure that the programs that we have between Zambia and Zimbabwe are on course. So normally we have these meetings that take place either in Zambia or in Zimbabwe, the joint permanent commissions, especially the economic ones, because we know that it's through this economic diplomacy that we can be able to create jobs for our people.
Zimbabwe and Zambia also share the same vision of becoming upper middle income economies by 2030 through achieving sustainable development goals. Memory Chamisa, ZBC News, Harare.
The main news takes a break. We'll be back shortly with business news.
Everybody's favorite fried chicken is closer than you think. Now you don't have to travel far for your finger-licking fix. The home of the original recipe chicken is growing and moving into your hood. Look out for our new restaurants and we'll KFC you soon.
Feeling a little disconnected from the rest of the world? Reconnect with the hottest entertainment source on the continent. Dust off your DSTV decoder and get connected to non-stop sport. Kids channels for all ages, a local scene like no other, and international movies and series that'll blow you away. Don't get left behind. Download the My DSTV app to pick the package that's right for your family and your pocket. And reconnect today. DSTV, it's your moment.
The Liquor Licensing Board under the Ministry of Local Government and Public Works is now accepting renewals for the fiscal year 2024 to 2025. Remember, all applications are done online at zimeservices.pfms.gov.zw. Simply attach A. Copy of the current license, B. ZBC radio or TV license, which is available at any ZBC office nationwide, and C. Health inspection report. For a liquor license, you need the following: 1. Letter of approval by local authority. 2. Health inspection report. 3. Copy of the approved plan. 4. Evidence of right of occupation. 5. Proof of publication in the Government Gazette and in the local paper LG1. 6. Affidavit. 7. Certified ID or passport for the licensee and the manager. 8. Company resolution and CR14 form. 9. Police clearance for the licensee and the manager. For more information, contact 0242 704 571. Renew your liquor license and watch your business grow.
Welcome back. The Victoria Falls Stock Exchange is expected to grow as part of an offshore financial centre. This with the 6 new counters are set to be listed this year.
Established 3 years ago, the VFX, which currently boasts of 14 counters, is attracting fresh listings as firms target raising capital for growth in hard cash. VFX Chief Executive Officer Mr. Justin Boni says government incentives on the market continue to provide an appetite for listings by export-oriented firms.
One of the areas that we're putting a lot of effort is in the bond market or fixed income. So we're expecting quite a few listings in that area. Also, we're expecting a few foreign firms to list. We're very close to a firm that we are working with that is coming out of the UK, which is going to list on the Victoria Falls Stock Exchange.
Mr. Boni also spoke on the importance of the market, current state of trading, and listing targets for this year.
What we always wanted is to get the Victoria Falls Stock Exchange to be attractive beyond Zimbabwe. So we're quite excited about that. And we expect that if that one lists on the Victoria Falls Stock Exchange, we can get investment across Africa as well.
The United States dollar-denominated exchange is also expected to play an important role in attracting global capital inflows into the country. Stanley James, ZBC News, Harare.
Now let's take a look at sport with Lawrence Tusida.
Thank you so much, Farah, and welcome to Sports News as we get to give you what has been happening through the day. It's off-season, and we start off with some transfer news where Shamba-based Simba Bora have signed 10 new players ahead of the start of the Kasolaga Premier Soccer League on the 24th of this month.
The 10 players include 2022 Soccer Star of the Year, Walter Musona, and his former teammate at FC Platinum, Perfect Chikwende. Young defensive midfielder Junior Makunike has been lured from Dynamos alongside goalkeeper Timon Mvula, as well as midfielder Malvin Mkolo and Billy Veremu from Bulawayo Chiefs and shortstopper Taubet Shumba. This comes after club owner Simbandoro stated that they are going for the league title this season. It is, however, not the first time that Simba Bora have gone for players with proven pedigree after signing 16 players in their debut season last year. The club signed the likes of former Warriors winger Talent Chawapiwa, utility player Blessing Moyo, defender Valentine Musarurwa, midfielders Tichaona Chipunza, Keith Murera and Hugh Chikosi, as well as former Dynamos captain Patson Jaure, among others. Despite the massive recruitment, Simba Bora battled relegation for the greater part of the season and only survived the dreaded chop by 2 points. History has also revealed that money is not the answer after the now defunct Baimo, Shooting Stars and Sporting Lions learnt the hard way. In recent times, FC Platinum and Ngezi Platinum only won their title after changing the approach. Simba Bora are under the tutelage of youthful coach Tondera Indiraya, who is synonymous with shopping sprees. In 2016, when he took charge of the then newly promoted Ngezi Platinum Stars, Ndiraya signed 6 players: Patson Jaure, Walter Mukanga, Kelvin Bulaji, Liberty Chakoroma, Washington Pagamisa, and Godnos Murguira. Then he moved to Dynamos in 29, and in 3 seasons at the Glamour Boys, he signed 45 players, among them Patson Jaure, Keith Murera, and Godnos Murguira, but he failed to win any silverware. The trend has continued at Simba Bora amid indications that the club is still on the market for more players. Ndiraya is also known for his bias towards foreigners who somehow fail to make the grade. At Simba Bora, he has Vincent Abubakar, a goalkeeper who only played once, while at Dynamos he signed 5 foreigners with only Emmanuel Paga and Sylvester Apia getting game time, while Albert Eonde, Alex Orotoma, and Martin Ofori posed questions on how they were recruited.
A statement of intent there coming through from Simba Bora, but we stay with football, moving on to the AFCON, where 2004 champions Tunisia and West African giants Mali headline Group E of the Africa Cup of Nations set to start this Saturday in Cote d'Ivoire.
Group E will see history repeating itself as the Eagles clash one more time at AFCON. The Carthage Eagles of Tunisia and the Eagles of Mali were in the same group in 2019. Tunisia, we have qualified for a record 16th AFCON in a row. Will be striving for better prospects, having been eliminated at the quarterfinal stage in the previous tournament. The Carthage Eagles can beat anyone on their day, as evidenced by their 1-0 victory over France at the 2022 World Cup. Standing in their way is Mali, a side that boasts of an array of stars based in Europe but never really click at major tournaments. The West Africans have never won the AFCON, but have been to the final once in 1972, where they lost 3-2 to Congo. They have, however, been to the semi-finals on 6 occasions. In their last 8 AFCON appearances, Les Aglais have been eliminated in the group stages 4 times and knocked out in the last 16 in the last 2 editions. Mali will be led by Captain Amari Traoré, who will make his 50th international appearance at AFCON. Bafana Bafana of South Africa entered this edition as outside favourites in the group, hoping to pose a serious challenge. They have earned a place at AFCON after one of their headline victories over 2022 World Cup finalist Morocco. Namibia are minnows among the giants, but they will be looking to cause an upset, having defeated Cameroon 2-1 at home and holding them to a draw in a recent away fixture. The Brave Warriors have however won just once in their last 5 matches and are making their only 4th foray at the competition and yet to win at AFCON.
Moving on to cricket, Chevron's captain Craig Evans has urged the batting unit to step up as Zimbabwe seeks a result in the series decider against Sri Lanka this Thursday.
Zimbabwe are trailing host Sri Lanka 1-0 ahead of the series decider at the Premadasa Cricket Ground in Colombo this Thursday. The two sides shared the spoils in the first match, which was washed out before Sri Lanka narrowly edged the Chevrons by 2 wickets with an over to play. The batsmen have been found wanting in the 2 matches, prompting the captain to call his team to step up. The batsmen have been struggling not just in this series, but it has become a perennial problem with the team losing a wicket in the first over in most of the encounters. Last month, T20 captain Sikandar Raza also called upon the opening batsman to lay a platform for the team. The Chevrons have won only a single series away from home in 15 years when they beat Sri Lanka 3-2 in 2017.
The 2023 darts season ended on a high note this Monday with an awards ceremony where Bulawayo Metropolitan Darts Association pledged to grow the sport.
The Darts Awards were the first to be held in Bulawayo since the sport took a break during the COVID-19 era. The ceremony brought together darts enthusiasts and fans, a clear indication of the popularity of the sport.
Ngiyajabula ngokunqoba okwenzileyo izicoco lezi is through ukuzinikela ngokutraina kakhulu. Njalo i-advice yami kwabantu laba abasebenzisa ama-drugs ukuthi badlale sports kabachani lezidakamizwa.
I also see my future as bright future in playing darts, also to represent the country Zimbabwe in the world.
I'm very honored for the award that I got because I played really well and I enjoyed the tournament. The competition was stiff, but I managed to conquer. If you want to pursue a sporting career, drugs doesn't work.
Chairperson of the Bulawayo Metropolitan Darts Association, Ian Nyati, stressed the need to take the sport away from taverns and promote a professional setup to attract sponsors, children and women.
We expect more teams to join our league. All of the teams that will join, we expect them to have sponsorship, and our management needs to attract the sponsorship. That is our biggest challenges. And we also endeavor to move away from playing in beer halls so that the sport attracts children, it also attracts women.
The darts season resumes in March ahead of the Major League, which takes place in Manicaland over the Easter holidays. Grace Sibanda, ZBC News, Bulawayo.
So that puts a lid on the sports news for the day. It's back to the main desk.
Many thanks to Larry Trusida there for that detailed sports update, taking us to the end of tonight's main news. From all of us here, it's good night.
Good night.